Okay, I have just got to wrap up. I have been scribbling lots of notes from this morning diligently, and I just wanted to share a couple of sound bites with you. I also, again, just wanted to remind you about the feedback forms. Just please spend the next 1 to 2 minutes filling out the feedback forms. That is really, really important. So please help me to do that. And I'm also going to just run through a few sound bites that I heard throughout the day. So this morning we had the opening session. We had Keith Bradshaw, the head of the bureau for the New York Times here. And again, some fascinating comments that I put down with regards to his views on the new leadership in China. He talks about the fact that we are going to see a rapid increase in costs, in his views. He talks about the amazing unemployment rates across that, for college graduates, 4 times higher than the norm. But we can expect to see more middle management in the future, and that's been a very big issue for China for the longest time. But he also mentioned about this 29% reduction in blue-collar workers as well. A lot of pressures we heard about the environment, a lot of pressures on the factories to clean up. And obviously he also talked about China's money supply being a lot bigger than the US. So again, very interesting comments. The dependence on the debt-fueled growth that's taken place in the last 5 years. It's going to be interesting to see what happens in the next 5 years. Then we heard from Gary Newman. And again, I think some key messages there. Continued raw material resource scarcity. We can expect that. Again, the desire for purchasing units to become more strategic. Gary talks about measuring innovation, and again, looks at giving us a number of really interesting examples of some of those, of some of that innovation. And of course, he talked about co-development, and we heard Christophe giving it another name in virtual manufacturing. So that co-development, what were the areas that you needed to develop in terms of co-development? Things like the ideas, the concepts, the R&D, manufacturing, sales and marketing. You need to understand your market. You need to understand your products. You need to understand your customers better. A great quote from Gary, you need to buy well, to buy well, you need to sell well. You've also got to be the leader of all those business relationships, both internally and externally, if you want to succeed. And there is a need for complete transparency if you are going to look at successful co-development. Another comment around strong partner selection that's needed, this kind of idea about the jockey and the horse. Let's see. We heard from Michael Mayringer with regards to the cost and enterprise costing. And again, how can we drive that? There's been very little focus on the costs during the product development stage. And again, he used such as phrases, and he used it a few times, cross-functional usage throughout the entire product life cycle. And he talked about the customer visit index, CVI, and some of those other KPIs. And then we had our first discussion panel that was chaired by Douglas Gerber. And again, some of the key messages that we heard from our panelists was Stanley Lau quoting the end of the migrant workers in southern China. Emil Yu talks about urbanization and this move to the west. And the fact that cost reductions are still top of mind. There were absolutely new expectations from the new generation of workers as well. And as Jeffrey pointed out, most definitely those workers today have greater bargaining power than ever before. A couple of other quotes. I also enjoyed Jeffrey's quote. He said, "Today, everything you need to know is on Weibo." Right? It's all there. You can get all the comments, all the bad stuff, all the grievances. Everybody is airing their grievances. I think, Emil, you picked up on an interesting point about mentorship is really important for the younger generation. And that, again, some of the key drivers were going to be the technology and automation drivers. We also had Julian Braun from CEL, and again, he was talking about that very interesting view around the persuasion cycle. And again, how can you build up those relationships? How can you prioritize the low-hanging fruit? But also, it's about the application of just good common sense. And you have the ability to achieve quite a number of savings. Then we had Mr. Christophe Roussel. Of course, I have a lot of comments, but a couple of key messages from Christophe was, the way we win is to win locally. He talked about the strategy, didn't he, for Tesco, to grow the UK core, to be a creator of highly valued brands, to be an outstanding retailer in stores and online, to be strong in everything we do, to build our team so we can create more value. I think there are a couple of quotes that I really like from Christophe. He talks about the fact that today we live in an age of disruption, so we better get used to it. He also talked about how we are living in a VUCA world. VUCA? Volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. And today is the digital age. We need to follow the customer or die. And again, he talked about some of those priorities that he has at Tesco: quality, innovation, safety, speed, and above all, transparency. And he stood here and he was very, very clear when he said, the age of cheap has gone. It's no more. He also talked about the golden age of China as a prime source location. His view is that that's also gone.